Following the Raiders' embarrassing beatdown by the Colts 40-6, Pete Carroll and company start to make some roster moves. Pretty sure it won't be the last roster move. That plus more on Tuesday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast, October 7th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. The show grows each and every day because of your support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day. So we shout him out. We appreciate him. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you, 707-654-4693. If you're new to the show and you're new to calling in and leaving a message, you only have 3 minutes. I prefer you to get it in under 3 minutes, like around 2 minutes would be fantastic, but you only have 3 minutes and then it's going to cut you off. So anyone who's not called in before, don't know about it, but you're thinking about calling in and leaving a comment, definitely remember that under 3 minutes would be fantastic and it'll cut you off after 3 minutes. So if you want to text in, you could do that as well. Same number, 707-654-4693. As a matter of fact, we'll hear from you as we close out the show. Calls, texts, a lot of great feedback. As you can imagine, as a team is 1-4 and coming off a drubbing by the Colts, there's plenty of feedback. Not a lot of good feedback, but we'll hear from you coming up. Segment number 3. Segment number 2, we'll just talk about this team in general, what other moves we might see and when. What could be happening with this team, the roster? What could head coach Pete Carroll do? We know that his first year in Seattle, he had over 300 different roster moves that he made. And, well, they made another roster move on Monday, one that I don't think will be the last move that you see from this team sooner rather than later. So we'll start to talk about that. You'll hear from Kirk Morrison in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And on Sunday, Jermaine Pratt did not travel with the Raiders to Indianapolis to play that game versus the Colts. And then on Monday, we found out by way of head coach Pete Carroll that Jermaine Pratt, veteran linebacker, had been released. So they released him. He started the first 4 games. He had 25 tackles, didn't travel with the team to Indianapolis, and then he was gone. So, you know, there could be more moves like that on the way. A lot of people reached out to me and said, well, Q, why was the move made? And the only thing I can assume, and again, this is just an assumption, this is not me reporting, I have not heard this, I just kind of know how things go, right? And it just seems like that there was probably some kind of disconnect. I know there's been all kind of different rumors and reports out there, and I'm not going to bring those to the table because none of those I know are factual. I just know that there are rumors and reports out there by, you know, some people with sources here and there, and unless I know it to be true, I don't want to bring it to the table and just throw some reckless speculation out there. But seems like, you know, all the players and all the coaches are not on the same page. And the one thing that I could tell you is when you bring in veterans that have been doing it at a very high level for a long time, sometimes they're kind of stuck in their ways. Sometimes it's one of those, this is how I've always done it type situation. And maybe the coaching staff did not see eye to eye with Jermaine Pratt. Again, he was a healthy scratch, did not take the trip to Indianapolis. He was on Twitter early on Monday talking about a new week, you know, same goal, same grind, just a little bit different than last week. And that's when, you know, right after that, we met with head coach Pete Carroll around 11 a.m. Pacific time on Monday. And that's when he said off top, when Ryan McFadden from ESPN asked him, you know, hey, you plan on Jermaine Pratt being involved in the mix this week? And he said, no, he's been released, and that they decided to go in a different direction. Just like he said after the game on Sunday, he didn't travel to Indianapolis because, well, they decided to go with someone else. So you could tell that there's obviously, you know, a disconnect. You know, thoughts of philosophy was not all on the same page. And when you're trying to turn a team around, when you're trying to create a culture, a lot of times it's easier to do that with young guys that may not know any better, as far as they don't have any other way of doing it. So this is all they know. So they're going to follow your lead, as opposed to a veteran who's been playing at a high level. And make no mistake about it, Jermaine Pratt is a really good linebacker, right? And now he became a cap casualty there in Cincinnati. They don't have a very good defense, and they decided not to bring him back because they had to have all their money to be able to get Jamar Chase and T. Higgins under contract. So whatever they did to secure their offense, they obviously didn't address their defense, but thought he would be a good upgrade for the Raiders, and he did a really good job through the first 4 games, but that's all that, you know, and I say he did a really good job. He did a good job, right? I don't think anyone's done a really good job because the Raiders are 1-4. So, now he gets a chance to go latch on with someone else, maybe fits what he wants to do a little bit better or fits what the team needs a little bit better, and the Raiders move on. And that's just about as simple as you could put it. And again, I don't think that that'll be the last move that you see made sooner rather than later. Also, wanted to give you an update on the injuries that are going on. Pete Carroll told us on Monday that Big Mike has a chance to pass his concussion protocol today. So it's been 2 games that Big Mike has missed, and that's unfortunate. And I say it all the time when it comes to concussion protocol. Everyone comes back from concussions at a different rate, right? Some people take a little bit longer to be able to clear the concussion protocol. Some people will clear it really quickly. I don't know how it affects each and every person, but there's nothing he could do. He can't wake up and say, I feel better, I'm ready to play, because that's what he's basically been saying. I'm good to go. I should be able to play, but he hasn't quite cleared concussion protocol. So Pete Carroll told us on Monday that Tuesday, being today, would be the chance that he gets the first opportunity to clear concussion protocol. So hopefully he does, and he's back on the field for practice coming up on Wednesday. Also, when it comes to Brock Bowers, he's week to week. Pete Carroll says he feels like he wants to go out there and be out there with his guys, but until he can be 100% healthy or at least healthier than what he was last week, when obviously he didn't play against Indianapolis, he'll probably be out. Again, my gut feeling is he'll probably be out after the bye week, right? I feel like that he'll miss this week against Tennessee. I feel like he'll miss next week against Kansas City, and then they have the bye. So I really, honestly, and this is just my gut feeling, I don't expect to see him back until the Raiders take on the Jacksonville Jaguars coming out of their bye week going into week 9. But again, that's just me. A.J. Cole, he got hurt on the block punt. He's dealing with a lower sprained ankle. We'll attempt to kick on Friday and see how he's doing. If he can go, he'll go. If he can't, they'll have to sign someone. So, they already have brought in plenty of different guys throughout the course of training camp and even the beginning of the regular season, kind of know who guys are. So if they need to break glass in case of emergency, they can. So I'm sure that they have someone on speed dial just in case they need to go in that direction. But man, what a fall from grace, right? The Raiders and special teams has been such a strong unit for them for so long. And now all of a sudden it looks like it's such a liability, from kickoffs being returned, taken back to the house, them not being able to tackle on special teams. Their punt coverage has not been great. Now their punter's injured. Daniel Cash Money Carlson hasn't been really cash money really this year, and even going back to some last year. It just seems like what was a strength of this Raiders team is now a big-time liability when you're looking at special teams. So, again, just unfortunate when it comes to this team and where they are right now, something I did not expect, something I talked about in a pretty deep fashion on Monday's show. Did not think after 5 weeks I'd be talking about a 1-4 team that's been blown out twice. Didn't think that that'd be the conversation that we'd be having. But there's a reason why they play the games. You can't just win on paper. You just can't win off assumption and by reputation, which is why I gave the Raiders 8 wins this season, thinking, okay, because of what Pete Carroll's done in the past, he never has really less than 7 wins on a season. He'll get to 7 or 8 wins, and I know he did. Like his first year, he had less than that. But for the most part, he averages about 8, 9 wins a season for sure. I thought that'd be a really good season for the Silver and Black, and unfortunately, it just hasn't come to that fruition. And so here the Raiders are trying to pick up the pieces with a team that's not very good coming to town in the Tennessee Titans. I say that, but the Raiders aren't a very good team either, as they're sitting there at 1-4 as well. Real quickly, wanted to let you hear from head coach Pete Carroll and just a couple little questions that he had to answer. I think it was about a 12-minute press conference that he had on Monday. Obviously not playing the whole thing for you. Just want to let you hear a couple of minutes of what head coach Pete Carroll had to say, especially when he was asked about, is this more of a rebuild than he really thought it was going to be? Like, are they further away than he really thought? Check it out.
Pete, is this, I guess, a longer process than you thought it might be?
Yeah, it's much longer than I expected it to be. Yeah, it depends on how you put it together and how it comes together, and I feel like there's no doubt that it's going to, and we just got to get it right and get away from the big plays that are causing huge impacts in games and get down to playing ball. The big stats, the normal stats you look at, runs and passes and all that doesn't tell the story in this game. It's the big plays that happen in the kicking game and turnover for a touchdown, and those plays are so huge, and so we have to just get out of that kind of ball and get to just playing good football, and we're running the ball better than the team they play, and you pass the ball better, and those things work for you and win for you.
In regards to Jermaine Pratt, are you anticipating him practicing this week and playing on Sunday against the Titans?
No, he's been released.
Is there a reason for his release?
Of course, yeah. We just thought it was time to go in a different direction.
Special teams has always been a strength of this team, and it seems like it's been a struggle this year. Can you put your finger on what's going on with the special teams unit in general?
Yeah, we're working really hard like we have been. Tommy's been here a long time and done a good job with the club and for the club, and we haven't changed any of our emphasis. We've followed it as much as we can, and we're counting on really good results. So the fact that big plays have happened, we got to make sure that we got guys in the right spots. We're going to keep working with new guys and to fit in and see if they can make plays for us. We need our guys that are covering the kicks to do a consistent job, and I'd like to have more defensive guys on those teams when we can. But we're not. Our emphasis has been is I would think as consistent as any part of our team. So we just got to get better results. We got to get away from the big plays.
So just a couple quick minutes right there with head coach Pete Carroll. Again, didn't want to go into great detail. I basically outlined a lot of the different things that he was saying already. But, that first question, Mark Anderson from the AP actually asked him that question. And, for him to honestly say, like, yeah, I didn't think that this team was as far away as they are, that kind of lets you know all that you needed to know. Again, saw rookie minicamp, saw OTAs, saw mandatory minicamps, saw training camps, saw the preseason, saw the growth with my own eyes. So I thought, okay, this team is definitely trending in the right direction. They've got guys that have been there, done that. They've got the track record. They've got the history. They got the resume that says that they're going to get this thing turned around. And unfortunately, it's not turned around, and not turned around quick enough as they're sitting there at 1-4. So what does Kirk Morrison think about it? He's the color commentary, longtime NFL linebacker, longtime Raider linebacker, joins my radio show each and every Monday. He had a couple things that he wanted to say about this team as they sit there at 1-4. We'll hear from him and talk about what could be coming next, what kind of moves could be coming next. We'll do that coming up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is so much fun. Simply add more excitement to football. All you got to do is pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game just like that. Anyone that you have a good feeling about, maybe even if you don't have a good feeling, you just want to take a shot, you can do that with PrizePicks. You can select their passing yards, rushing yards, touchdowns, all in one lineup. And it's fun to follow other players in the app and copy their lineups with just one click. All you got to do is download the PrizePicks app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Want to talk about what could be possibly on the way, on the horizon for the team if they don't find a way to start cleaning up their act, start to get into the win column, and start to see some progress in what they're trying to put together. Kirk Morrison, longtime NFL linebacker, Raider linebacker, current color commentary on the Raider broadcast alongside Jason Horowitz, joins my radio show every Monday at 2:30 Pacific time. And I started off asking about the way that the Raiders are playing, the 1-4 start, and how surprised, if any, he is by the way that they're playing.
I think that we're all still shocked about it. We watched this team throughout the OTAs and mini camps and training camp, preseason, and you saw that this team had potential to have a really good season. But yet, throughout the first 5 weeks of the season, we saw a team that went up to New England and won on the road, and we haven't seen that team since. Or maybe you look at what they did in New England and you say they could have went either way. And is this team truly good? Were they okay, or they are a poor football team? I'm still torn between. I don't know where this team is headed. I said this after the game, the same thing. Just the consistency is not there. I'm always positive because I've seen what it looked like when they do things right, and you say, "Thank you, keep doing that." But they don't do it consistently, and that's where the frustration comes in with not only myself, I think with the team, but also with the fan base.
Yeah, and, head coach Pete Carroll even said, he acknowledged it today, that this has been a bigger uphill climb than he even expected. He thought this team was closer, like I think all of us thought this team was closer. So how does he get this turned around and keep those guys in the locker room all together? You've been that leader, right? I know you're going to have to lean heavily on your leadership, but how is he going to be able to do that now?
Well, you got to make sure that everybody is still on one accord, right? One belief that we all know what we need to do. I think I'd rather have thumb pointers than finger pointers, right? You want people that point the thumb at themselves and say, you know what, I can be better. What can I do to make sure I'm doing what I can to help our team win each and every game? And if you're not a part of it, then you won't be here. That's just how it is, plain and simple. And I think you've already seen some of the moves already that have kind of proven that if you're not on the ship, then get off of it, because we're rolling in the right direction. And that tells me is that guys, it means something to them. And they understand that, hey, there's injuries, there's new guys in some new spots, there's guys getting some opportunities. Guys are fighting hard, but, man, it's about executing now. It's about doing it at a high level, week in and week out, game in and game out. But more importantly, play in and play out. Man, guys are playing hard, but it's just that now you got to turn that into good football, because right now it's just not good football.
So there's Kirk Morrison right there, just talking about the way that the Raiders are playing, talking about week 1 in New England and the fact that they haven't seen that team show up again. And even, hey, was that team really that team at that stage of the game? And seeing what the Patriots did on Sunday Night Football against Buffalo, I think the Raiders are really lucky that they got them in week 1, right? Because they seem like that they're starting to come together. They're trending in the correct direction while the Raiders are trending in the wrong direction. So, of course, there's going to be questions of what has to happen, right? I asked Pete Carroll on Monday after he announced Jermaine Pratt was being released, do you expect any more personnel changes on the way? And he said simply no. So that was on Monday. Now, on Wednesday, we'll ask him about any other kind of changes that could be coming. He's already shot down the idea of bringing, a different quarterback in, bringing Kenny Pickett in as opposed to Geno Smith. Said he thought about it on Sunday, but knows that they need more practice reps out there. So to me, it doesn't sound like Geno Smith is going to be, sat down anytime soon. And I know that Raider Nation doesn't want to hear that. A lot of people are over the Geno Smith experiment, and for good reason. I mean, he's leading the league in interceptions, and he's staring down receivers. And honestly, he's throwing the ball into double and triple coverage. He did that week 1. He just got away with it. That might have actually been the worst thing ever that happened, is that he got away with it in week 1, and so he continued to do it. And now it's habit forming. Now it's what he does, right? It's funny. I was talking to Eric Allen one time, the Hall of Famer Eric Allen, and he had mentioned Charles Woodson getting an interception early in his career, and I believe it was the interception that he got against the Cardinals, and that was Matt Leinart, and he took it to the house, and he did the little basketball, looked like he was dribbling a basketball. That was his first pick 6, and EA had mentioned the fact that Charles actually didn't do what he was supposed to do on that play. Like, he just, with his natural ability and his just talent that he had, his natural instincts to go get the ball, he just did something that he wasn't supposed to do, and he happened to guess right. And he said, oh, man, as good as that was, as exciting as that play was, then all of a sudden it almost created a bad habit, because he thought, hey, I guessed, and I guessed correctly on that one, and I benefited from it. I was rewarded for it with a pick 6. So then he thought, hey, I could do that more often, which clearly you can't do that. And we were talking about EA being a student of the game, and the way that he was a film studier. So again, sometimes when you get away with something and you do it and you feel like, oh, I can do that all the time because you did it one time. So I know Geno Smith is a conversation that a lot of Raider Nation is thinking, okay, got to go sit that guy down, got to see what Kenny Pickett has. I don't think anything's going to happen with Geno Smith, at least until after the bye. The bye seems to be one of those, okay, maybe reset type moments. If some changes are going to be made, I think that, when it comes to just replacing a guy in the starting lineup, I think that'll be in the bye week. Now, there could always be a movement like what happened with Jermaine Pratt, where they decide to release him. That could happen at any time. But I just think that when it comes to a guy like Geno Smith, after trading for him, after giving him the contract extension, I don't think that he's going to even get set down in the bye week. But if there was a chance that something was going to happen, and he stinks it up this week against the Titans, and then he goes to Kansas City and has the same kind of output against the Chiefs, then maybe they decide in the bye week, when they have a little bit extra time, to get Kenny Pickett some reps with the ones, that they go and make a move like that. And honestly, if they happen to lose the next 2 games, and I don't think that they should lose this Sunday against the Titans, but we'll see. Because the Tennessee Titans are thinking, hey, man, the Raiders could be our get-right game, right? This could be the turning point in our season. They're thinking the same thing that Raider Nation's thinking. Oh, the Tennessee Titans aren't very good. Tennessee's thinking, yeah, the Raiders aren't very good. And when you only have 1 win on the season, can't really blame them. So I feel like after the bye week, and I talked about it briefly on Monday's show, that's when evaluation season starts to kick in. If they lose these next 2 games, and they're going to the bye at 1-6. Come out of that against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, oh, by the way, don't look now, are 4-1, knocking off Kansas City on Monday Night Football. I think that's when it becomes evaluation season. And I hate that, right? I really do, because, man, it's way too early for evaluation season. And don't forget, the trade deadline is November 4th, the day after my birthday. So just in case you're trying to keep track. But it is. That's when the trade deadline is. And I don't think that there's a lot of pieces that could be traded off right now. I really don't. The easy one to identify would be Jacoby Myers if a team decided that they needed another wide receiver. And I know there's some teams out there that do. And obviously he has that contract situation. Anyone who listens to this show knows I'm 100% against that. I think Jacoby is a really, really good asset, but I get it, right? And for him, he might not want to be around for this, right? I mean, as of late, I mean, even some of his blocking has been down a little bit, and I don't know if that's just, I don't know what's going on, right? It just feels like that some of the things that he's done really well so far throughout the course of his career, I don't know if he's, a little bit down because of the contract situation, down because of the results on the field, maybe a combination of the both. But one thing that he does really well is block, and I've seen his blocking, drop off just a little bit. His I don't want to say effort, but the results of what he's doing has dropped off a little bit. Maybe a guy like Tyree, right? If they feel like, okay, he's not developing the way that they need, and somebody else, thinks that they could use him defensively. Maybe a guy like Malcolm Kuntz, but he hasn't really done anything. The problem is there's not anyone outside of Max Crosby, and I'm definitely never going to suggest that Max gets traded. But I can see them taking a long look at their roster and saying, okay, well, this is where we are. We're 1-6 or 1-7 or whatever the case may be. This is a lot harder of a rebuild than we thought it was going to be. Let's go ahead and get some extra assets. I do think that they're a ways away from that, right? It's not even mid-October yet, so they still have time to turn things around. As Pete Carroll said, that it's going to pop. He knows it's going to pop. You just got to stick with it. So I don't think that they're ready to wave the white flag. I know a lot of Raider Nation has waved the white flag. I'm still just confused on how the hell we even got here. I did not anticipate this team looking like this at this stage of the game. I just didn't. Again, if you had told me that they were going to be, 2-2 after the first 4 weeks, I could have bought that. You told me that they were going to be 2-3 after the first 5 weeks. Okay, cool. Even if you had told me they were going to be 1-4, I might have been okay with it if they weren't getting blown out. And I know that it doesn't matter how you lose. A L is an L, but those blowouts, man, blowouts really bothered me. And I don't really understand how this team looks like that. I thought whatever they were doing this year with this coaching staff and the players that are in place and this quarterback was an upgrade over what we've seen over the past few years. And right now it's everything but that. And that's the biggest problem. Right now, the identity of this team is the run game. I think Ashton Genty has been good, and I think he could be better. And I think that the running game in general, I think him and Raheem Mostert need to be leaned on heavily. And now Geno Smith has to really be managed and has to be more of a game manager as opposed to a gunslinger, because the gunslinging ain't working. His gunslinging is just not getting it done. So now he's got to be really kind of, managed to a certain extent where it's like, only throw the ball about 20 times a game. Like, you got to stop getting away from him throwing the ball more than 30 times. Like, you really have to put him on a pitch count because it's just getting away from him and turning the ball over too many times. Too many mistakes. The Jaguars, they're 4-1. They've created 14 turnovers already through 5 weeks. 14 turnovers. Devin Lloyd, their linebacker, has 4 interceptions, including a 99-yard pick 6 on Monday night. The Raiders don't even have 4 interceptions as a team. Devin Lloyd has 4 interceptions as one individual player. Again, that was a big emphasis. Something Pete Carroll talked about in the offseason. It's all about the ball. The Raiders still are not going and getting the ball. One quick text before we wrap up segment number 2. This comes from Raider Cal in Canada. He says, hey, Q, Raider Cal from Canada. As a longtime listener, 2019-ish, I can always tell you how the season's going by when you start talking about evaluation season. I feel like it's here. What do you think? Thanks for making a loss after a Monday a lot easier. Still look forward to the show. That's Raider Cal in Canada. And that's what I'm talking about. When I start talking about evaluation season, the season is going terribly wrong. I don't want to get there just yet, but it does feel like if this continues through the next couple games and going into the bye week, coming out of that bye week against that 4-1 Jacksonville team, who obviously won't be 4-1 because they have a couple more games under their belt, will start to feel like evaluation season for sure. But thanks for that text. I do appreciate you. Speaking of text, we got your calls and texts as we close out the show. 707-654-4693. We'll hear from you next. Before I get to that, though, I do want to tell you about another great sponsor we have on the show, and that is Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes, they sweat every single detail. Mazda brings the same attention to how they craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, the metallic accents, the Napa leather upholstery. They've got it all. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to great controls, all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season, even this season when the Raiders are 1-4. Like the players, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Here we go, Raider Nation. It's segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts are off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Start things off with Mario from San Jose. He's calling to talk about this Raiders team and how he's feeling right now through 5 weeks. Here's Mario from San Jose.
What's up, Q? This is Mario from San Jose, man. I want to say it's sad. I just don't know how to feel as a fan anymore, man. It's depressing. I've always been a Super Bowl fan. I still am right now. You know, I watch my YouTube channel on a daily. Listen to my podcast on a daily, but, man, I just don't know what to do anymore. I used to be a fan that had all these ideas. Oh, this would work. This should work. Or see this on this guy. And I just don't know if anyone put in our team would get it right. You know, I seen the first home game of the season with the Raiders, and man, the stadium looked blacked out. It looked crazy. I'm like, damn, I want to go to a game. But stinker after stinker, man, it's just depressing. I don't know what we need to do. I don't know who we need to hire. I don't know what we need to draft. I'm confused, man. Like, I see all these journeyman QBs go through, and now I'm just thinking, like, oh, we just got to get a fresh start, new QB. But it's like, man, are we going to fail this young guy too? It's kind of like, damn, do I want someone to come here and roll the dice and see if their career will take off? Like, I don't know who could succeed in this situation, man. It's like, I thought Pete would be a good coach, but he might looking too old for it. I don't know. I wasn't a guy like that, but I don't know, Q, man. It's just sad. I don't know what we got to do, but one day, man, maybe my daughter will see a good team, or maybe her kids will one day see a good team. Thanks, you.
Super Mario, thanks for the call. Appreciate that. And I think the way you feel is how a lot of Raider Nation feels. I know I have no idea how to feel about this team right now. I'm shocked by the way that it's performed. Honestly, I wish I had all the answers or any answer that would make sense, but honestly, I don't. And I really hate that. I'm as much in the dark about this team right now as you are, as Raider Nation is. Again, if you had told me that this team was going to be 1-4 after 5 weeks and they were going to get blown out twice, 40 pieces put on them by the Commanders and by the Colts, you would have, man, I would have gone to FanDuel, placed that bet, and I would have clearly lost. So thanks, Mario, for that call. Definitely appreciate you. And one can only hope that things are going to start to get better. And, you know, by making some moves on the roster, maybe they're starting to set an example and multiple examples of what's going on with this team. Up next, got a text from Mountaineer Raider. Q, Mountaineer Raider here after disappointed Raider performance on my birthday. Listen, I think it's time we just put Pickett in and see what happens. It definitely can't be worse than how Geno's playing. Now, I know you're going to say, nah, Pickett ain't it. We know that what Pickett is. He's on his 4th team for a reason. Well, my response to that is 2 years ago, everyone knew who Darnold was, and last year, everyone knew who Daniel Jones was. Who's to say Pickett can't join that list of players that revitalize their careers? Probably not, but like I said, he can't possibly be worse than the quarterback we've got right now. Anyway, love the show, Q. Can't wait to hear what you, Lincoln, have to say about the game on here and the squad show. Thanks for all that you do, and always go Raiders. That's from Mountaineer Raider. And, yeah, I mean, that's a hard argument to go against, right? And that's the reality of it. As much as I want to say everything that you just said, yeah, Kenny Pickett's not it. He's not the right answer. He's on his 4th team for a reason. Like, I want to say all that. But it's hard to go against it, especially when Geno's not giving you any real reason to back him up. Now, I know Pete Carroll's not going to make a switch anytime soon. That's why I talked about in segment number 2. Maybe the bye week he'll make a move if Geno keeps turning the ball over and staring guys down and not having control. And, again, it looks like a liability out there. right? What we all thought, at least I thought, was an upgrade at the quarterback position, now looks like a liability, and that can't happen, especially with all the money that the Raiders gave him this offseason when they traded for him and then extended him. At some point, the Raiders are just going to have to go and do whatever it takes to go get their quarterback. I know we've had these conversations plenty of times before, but it's about time, man, that they just go get their guy. Identify who your dude's really going to be. Go get him, right? Go get your Bryce Young. Go get your C.J. Stroud. Go get your Josh Allen. Go get your Lamar Jackson. Go get your Patrick Mahomes. Go get your Justin Herbert. Basically, go get your young quarterback that you feel like you could build around. Now, obviously, a couple of those guys are league MVPs or Super Bowl champs, and some of those guys are still questionable, but at least these teams are going for it and going and getting their guy. If you feel like you know who that guy is, if you can identify that guy, go get him. And obviously, they can't do that to the offseason. There's a long ways to go. But, man, at some point, they need to just get their guy and build around whatever skill set they have. So we'll see. Speaking of the squad show, thanks for bringing that up as well. Today, me and Chantel Chan are going to do the squad show. Lincoln, he lost his voice, and that tends to happen, especially this time of year, doing all the talking that we're doing. Amber Thea Harris was going to join us as well, but she lost her voice too. So Amber's out, Lincoln's out, so it's going to be me and Chantel today, solo bolo. But it should still be a really good show, 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. So thanks so much for bringing that up. I do appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Raider Kells in the 206, which is Seattle, Washington. He's calling to give his thoughts on the season through 5 weeks and 5 games, and also the rest of the way. Here he is, Raider Kells.
Yo, what up, Q? It's your boy, Raider Kells, calling from up here in the 206, Seattle, Washington. Shout out to you, first of all. Shout out to Ari, of course. You know how this thing go. I'm just calling. I just want to say, man, the season's not over. Like, it's not over. We still got the season going on. It's week 5 and it's looking bad. I'm not gonna lie. It is looking bad. But you know what? It's cool though. Because, I know we've seen these losing seasons. Not saying we're gonna have a losing season because, like I said, it's still early, but we've seen it before, so we gotta chill out a little bit and, just act like it's like a car that you fixing up. Yeah, we've been in the car. You still might ride around, but you got it. But you got to start with the engine. Then you fix the doors. You get you some paint on that thing. You do the interiors, and that takes time. And this team gonna take time. We've been I don't know how long everybody been a fan, but it's all good though. But it's like it just takes time to build something good. And I know Pete's a winning coach, but it's still first year there. We got a new thing rocking right now. It's just a new thing. We're not used to it. That car, it just drive a little different than the last one. It's still it's like, bro, we just thought we got a new car from the lot. Not even the dealer. We went to the ones that you used to see in the paper that you could drive down the street. It's a homie's uncle or something. But it's like one of them. And then, we got to fix it up, of course, sometimes, but we spent this much on it. And then let's see in a couple of years, it's going to take some time to build this thing up. So everybody just saddle up and put that seatbelt on, I think it's, as long as we're moving towards the right way. Pete's only going to be there for 3 years maybe, or whatever he's going to be there for. Gino ain't going to be there for forever, but we still got these young guys starting to show out. Instead of, let's look at what Trey Tucker been doing with Gino playing like that. I don't know. We got some good stuff happening. It just be taking time, when you be building something new. That's it. It's Raider Kells calling from the 206. Raider Nation for life.
Kells, thanks for the call. Appreciate you, and I appreciate the positive attitude, man. It's a great way to look at things. The problem is that this has not been billed as a full rebuild, right? That's the problem, right? What they said from the beginning was, we're going to win a lot of games. That's all I know. We're going to win a lot of games. And I know that John Spytek is used to being able to turn a roster over and have it built with a lot of young guys. And I know Pete Carroll has said many times that he doesn't have any problem playing young guys. But when you're trying to kind of do both at the same time, when you're trying to build a team and also win at the same time, it's a little bit difficult. And I think that and Pete Carroll said it's more difficult than what he actually expected at this stage of the game. So, it is what it is. They've got one win. They have a team coming to town that you look at on paper and think that they're a team that they should beat, but I thought they should beat Chicago, right? Thought before the season that they should beat Indianapolis, knew that was going to be a tough game going into it. Didn't think they were going to get mollywopped like they did, though. So, Geno, he's playing poorly. He needs to figure things out. The fact that the Raiders traded for him, extended him, just makes things even worse. So thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. But like I said, I definitely appreciate the positive attitude that you have about the situation. Up next, got a text from Miller Raider. What's up, Q? It's Miller Raider. It's hard for me to hear Coach Carroll talk about how the stats were similar. We may have similar rushing yards and passing yards, but they won the turnover battle and was way better in the red zone than we were. We can't settle for 3 points or turn the ball over in the red zone. Plain and simple. We have to figure out that part of the game on offense. Special teams aren't very good. Defense is on the field too much. Right now, our team has a lot of youth and raw talent that needs experience in developing. These are growing pains of a rebuild. That's what happens when we hire and fire coaches every year. Progress doesn't happen because we hit the restart button every year. Hard to watch when this is the reality of our team. Love the podcast, the radio show. Q, you're the man. Stay up, Raider Nation. That's from Miller Raider. Again, big facts. And that's why we talk about hiring and firing coaches every year. Hiring and firing. Hiring and firing. You're never going to get where you want to go by hiring and firing. Hiring and firing. At some point, you've got to stick with what you got. You got to trust that this guy's going to figure things out. And that's the other thing. A lot of coaches don't want to coach the Raiders because they feel like that they don't really have an opportunity to let this thing grow. They don't have that opportunity to build this thing up. So Pete Carroll took the job, knew that he was, going to get like the 3-year deal that he got, right? And see if he's around for the 3 years, and then he's going to be ready to retire. He's already got the Hall of Fame career. So that's and I thought that was a good decision when they went in with Pete Carroll because he's got the resume to say that what he does is going to work. It just hasn't clicked yet for the Raiders. And so hopefully they still got plenty of time. 12 games still left to go that are guaranteed, right? But, as Amber Theo Harris said on my radio show the other day, and apparently Yogi Berra said it first, which is kind of cool, it gets late early, and it's getting late pretty quickly for the Silver and Black. Miller Raider, thanks so much for that text. Do appreciate you. We'll close things out with a call from Georgia Raider. He's calling to talk about Geno Smith, Kenny Pickett, and what he would do and when if Geno keeps up this poor play. Here's Georgia Raider.
Q, this is Georgia Raider. Just calling in, just listening to the podcast talking about Geno going into Kenny Pickett possibly. I get it. I'm not ready to go there now. I think Geno still needs some time to see what he can do because I still think he's the best option. But I would say after this week against, I believe it's the Titans, if it's still 1-2 picks and a bad loss to not a very good team, then I think you go into the bye week maybe looking at Kenny Pickett. There's nothing saying that Kenny Pickett can't be Geno Smith, how he turned it around when he got to Seattle, or Baker Mayfield, who turned it around when he went to the Bucs. Daniel Jones finally getting to a good spot to where maybe he fits in with Chip Kelly. I don't know. But just to kind of say he's not the answer, we don't know that. Like, Baker Mayfield, technically, nobody thought he was the answer. He went from, the Browns to the Rams for a short stint, and Panthers, or whatever the order was, but, really, anybody really think he was the answer? But he ended up being the answer. Daniel Jones, nobody really thought he was the answer, but maybe it's a good fit. Like, the guy was a first-round draft pick. There's some potential there. Maybe it's just the fit with Chip. Maybe it's just a new team, new regime. Maybe he's got some experience now. But I really, like I said, if Geno doesn't do good again, I don't want to watch that over and over again just because he's Pete Carroll's boy. I don't want to do that. As much as I love Aiden O'Connell, I think we've seen enough of that experiment. And like I said, after the bye week, if Geno has a good game against the Titans, then keep rolling. But at some point, I think you do have to turn the page. Evaluation season at that point, and at least see what we got in Kenny Pickett. Worse, maybe we see what's in Cam Miller. So, all right, Q, appreciate everything you do. Bye.
Georgia, thanks for the call. Appreciate you, and that's kind of how I feel too. I think Geno's the best option right now, but poor play might force the issue with Kenny Pickett. Right? I think that he's a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett, but again, if you're turning the ball over, giving it to the other team, you're not playing at a higher level. You're not doing anything, that's productive for this team. They can't even get in a rhythm because they could keep turning the ball over. Chip Kelly can't get in a rhythm as a play caller, and he's got to do better. I don't think that he's the main issue, but he's got to do better as well. But like I said, how do you get into a rhythm when the ball's consistently being turned over? So something's got to happen. Something's got to change sooner rather than later. Again, the bye week makes sense, and it's coming up in a couple weeks. Tennessee this week, Kansas City the following week, bye week. So kind of pay attention and monitor that timeline to see how this Raiders team does and see what kind of moves are made after that. So thanks so much for the call. Definitely appreciate you. That's going to do it for today's show. Again, thanks for rocking with us. Again, the Raiders Squad Show with me and Chantel Chan this morning at 7:30 a.m., 7:30 to 8:30, 1 hour long, 1 hour strong. That's on live on YouTube and, of course, wherever you get your audio. Really fun show. Definitely appreciate everyone tunes in to that. The Raiders are off today. Pete Carroll will talk again on Wednesday. So, of course, we'll be back at it, back out at practice, talking to the coaches, talking to the players, talking to everyone that we can talk to and try to get a feel for this team as they start to get ready for the Tennessee Titans. So until tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.